The abundance of CAIs in a meteorite section can be easily miscalculated or misdetermined. And the reason is that CAIs are rather rare, maybe something like 0 to 3 or 4 volume percent in a single meteorite. Now the point is, if the abundance of objects is that low, their distribution within a section is not homogeneous. It's not something like this. It is more like when rain falls down on tiles, on a pavement, and at the very beginning there might be many number of raindrops in one tile, fewer in another, and this is then the distribution of the raindrops in the various tiles. And if you plot this will be something like such a distribution, where here are number of tiles and here is the abundance of raindrops. This can be modeled, and then this looks something like this. These are individual tiles or sections on a meteorite section, and each of these dots here is a CAI with the typical CAI size. Now this is 0 to 100 millimeters, and CAIs typically have something like tens, hundreds of microns to maybe a few millimeters, and this is what is shown here. And this is a random distribution of these dots across such a grid. And what can be seen is that there are sometimes tiles like this one here, which have only very few CAIs, if you would count them as area percent, and then there are other tiles and they have lots of CAIs. Again, there is one that has very few CAIs, and then there is one where the area, the modal abundance of this area is very high. And again, this would then produce such a Poisson distribution. And from such a Poisson distribution, it's possible to then calculate an average or mean. So if CAI abundances are determined, it is important to recognize this kind of effect, which is also true for any component that is very rare. However, if the area is large enough, something like if one would look at a meteorite that has maybe a meteorite section of this size, then this effect of a Poisson distribution becomes negligible. Basically, the distribution would look something like this or so, to very narrow, which means that in such a case the mean can be directly determined. So it depends on the size of the section. Now in carbonaceous chondrites, the CAI abundance is about something like 0.2 to 3 or 4 volume percent. The highest percentages in CAIs are in CV chondrites, which have the highest number of CAIs, maybe something like 3 to 4 volume percent. And in ordinary chondrites, it's usually below 0.1. The same is true for enstatite chondrites. It's also 0.1 volume percent, the CAI abundance. And the same is also true for something like Kakangari or Rumuruti chondrites. They also have something like maybe 0.1, sometimes maybe a little bit more, but in general they all maybe up to 1%, but usually all the others have below 1%. Actually, the point is that the most abundant CAIs are most abundant in CV chondrites, and in all other chondrites CAI abundance is usually 1 or less. And this is the abundance of CAIs in chondrites.